Hi everyone, my name is Elijah, and this is an introduction to form, program, and building. So this video is part of a series that introduces second-year architecture students to the fundamentals of designing buildings based on a given program. It is intended to supplement a student studio course and will mostly focus on the design technology and post-production behind it. We will go step by step in this process and design a building together. By the end of the series, you can expect to produce work similar to this. So a little bit about me. I am a third-year architecture transfer student at Cal Poly SLO. I previously went to Customness River College and was also an instructional assistant for the architecture department over there. I also enjoy cats. Um, so this is kind of an itinerary of the videos you can expect to see throughout the series, and it breaks down a step in the whole process into little bits, and we'll go through the software required and what else you need to do. Cool. So we do cover a range of softwares, Bluebeam, SketchUp, Revit, Lumion, and the Adobe Suite products. Ideally, you should also use Rhino, but I don't cover it here. It's very commonly used throughout architectural programs in California, so if you do intend on transferring from community college, you should have knowledge of it. So in this video, I will go over what a program is. I'll also be introducing the project that will be following through the series, and then I will also show you what I did for my Interpretive Center. So essentially, a program is a detailed outline of the spaces, functions, and relationships a building must support. Architects typically use it to analyze space needs and user types, determine adjacencies and relationships, guide layout, scale, and circulation, and also balance client goals, code, and design intent. For example, if we were to do a community library, let's say the client would call for a reading room with 40 people, that's about 1,000 square foot. They want book stacks, 2 private study rooms, an office with a front desk, or near a front desk, an ADA restroom, and natural light in public areas. So you can see that they do outline the spaces that they want and also some design considerations. So I'm going to introduce a couple graphics that help us understand what a program is and how it can be laid out. But first, I'll start off with a quote. In architecture, the program defines what a building needs to do, its spaces, functions, and how they relate, while the form expresses how the building looks and feels. A well-designed building finds a balance, its form responds to and enhances the program, and the program gives purpose and structure to the form. So this is an example of a program layout in plan view, but we can see that this is kind of like a courtyard house that revolves around this green area here. You can see different types of the program are arranged by color, and you can see the adjacencies and the relationships between them, given by arrows here, outlines, and these little black lines here that could represent hallways or some kind of circulation path. This is a 3D view of it, or of a different project, but this kind of gives us a massing study of the program, and you can see that different areas of the program are color coded and are shown in layout in the building. Cool. This is a more detailed, graphically rich version of the previous slide, but it's nice because they show like furniture in the little program areas. They also label them with the square footage, and they also show the adjacencies here. One thing I want to iterate when we design is that design is storytelling. So as you work with your program and with your building, you should be able to justify your design decisions and kind of explain your process behind it. So here, for example, this person starts out with a very simple rectangular grid boundary and eventually moves their way into a complete building here. But these kind of diagrams are very helpful in explaining your process. This one is also a design storytelling program or graphic. Um, and they show how they go from this existing narrow landform, how they sequence the spaces, and eventually the program, and all the little bits and pieces there. I have a little note here that says these diagrams are typically made after production. So, you know, design isn't a perfect process, and these are typically made towards the end of your project after you've gone through like the dirty work of figuring out what you want to design or what you want to put in your building. But yeah, I just included this to show how you can explain maybe your uh, form or partie of your building in some kind of fun term. All right, so what I'm going to do next is introduce the Interpretive Center as a project, and we'll be working through this throughout the series. So this project type, um, as it says in the name, is a sustainable interpretive center, about 6,000 to 7,000 feet. It is located in Rancho Cordova, California, along the American River Parkway, and the client is Soil-Born Farms, which is a nonprofit kind of urban agricultural farm whose focus is to reach people who traditionally don't have an education in agricultural practices, things like sustainable living, farming, and kind of helping them learn. Because this is situated in a place where um, people do not have like a lot of access to nutritious foods historically. Um, this is a very useful place. Anyways, this is a master plan of soil-borne farms, sort of the American River Ranch, and you can see that there's crops here, cluster buildings here, and they also annotate where the site areas are. If we go into enlarge plan, this is where our interpretive center is. This is just a building footprint, a fictional one, of what the interpretive center could look like, but it will entirely depend on your design. The farm office here, you have the option of demolishing or adding onto or keeping the building here. And this is also a site the architect provided, and we'll be working off of this one. Cool. So we're going to analyze the program a little bit, or just more so look at it. Um, so within the program, they do call for some key spaces like an entry and visitor reception, an interpretive exhibit space, which is kind of like a little mini museum, a community room, environmental science classrooms to host like a youth program, office and staff spaces, an atrium, outdoor patio, and event storage. If we click on this link here, it's going to take us to a program document that goes way more in depth about the site, the building, the square footage of each space that needs to be included, and also some potential design options here. Cool. So some considerations for the site. It's near the existing farm office, and we have the option of, adding on to, demolishing, or keeping this building. Um, the fire department access road needs to be maintained, so you can't really put your building beyond this border because this is where fire trucks need to go through. There needs to be an outdoor gathering area near the entrance, connection to animal barn outlook, and landscaping to buffer the fire lane, which I will kind of explain as we design. So the project deliverables for this interpretive center, I will just kind of make up, but you want to make sure to check with the submission requirements of your course. So we'll go with a letter size slideshow. So each slide will be about 8.5 by 11, portrait or landscape. Will include partie diagrams, concept diagrams, site plan, floor plans, elevations, sections, exterior and interior renderings, and text descriptions of our project. And we'll kind of tackle this towards the end of the series after we've done like all the production work in modeling in post-production. Cool. So next up, I am going to go over my interpretive center and how I tackled the program here. So what I'm going to do is actually go to Bluebeam and pull up my portfolio and just present from there. Cool. So one thing I want you guys to pay attention to is the graphics of my presentation and how I arrange, um, my content and how it is kind of done linearly. So I start off with a hero shot, and this is kind of like, the big shot of your project, and it gives someone a um, general view of what the project looks like. If we go into the second page here, I have some text as well as a massing diagram here. I have a site plan to kind of show how the building is in relation to the site. And one thing I do want to note in terms of design is that I decided to break my building into like different masses to create a series of outdoor, indoor spaces where people can come in, experience the building, and also experience the outside at the same time. So here I have a floor plan. I have what's called a context analysis, which kind of shows like the sun path, pedestrian traffic, delta winds, positive views, kind of like the site conditions of the project. I also show a circulation diagram here, and this is what I call a program area diagram. So within the project, I colored different areas of it to show where potentially like a program type is. So community spaces are centered towards more of the front of the project. Learning is towards the back here and towards the front as well. And utility, administration, commercial. Cool. This is kind of like all my process drawings, just to show like how I came from like these messy sketches to more clearly defined floor plans and exterior options here. But this goes to show like design isn't perfect. You're going to create like messy sketches in the beginning and end off with finished content in the end. And this is also a partie sketch. Cool. And these are also interior renderings. I'll teach you guys how to do something similar to this, and also a side section here. But yeah, cool. So this sort of concludes my video. And in the next video, we'll go through file organization and precedent analysis. So I hope to see you guys there. All right, bye.